وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
So we begin our second session of the day. And this session again is on the purpose of life. We have with us Ustadh Abdus, who's basically in charge of Ikhwa at the moment. He used to previously be in charge of MYN as well. For those who do not know, Muslim Youth Network. Alhamdulillah, he's been involved in dawah work for as long as I can remember, because I literally grew up with the guy in college. So alhamdulillah, we're very honored and pleased to have Ustadh Abdus with us. And I'll pass it on to him, inshallah, to continue.
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن صار على سبيله ونهجه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد وبارك الله فيكم جزاكم الله خيرا. طيب, let's make a start inshallah. I apologize, I wanted to come a little earlier so I can get to know you brothers properly before just speaking to you randomly. So that's my fault, I came a little slightly late. طيب, but in any case inshallah, how about we do it like this inshallah. I think you've had some topics, right, on the hereafter, and you've had some topics on the brother Jazakumullah khairan after Salah. He spoke about the purpose of life. So let's go through it inshallah properly. Right? Before we ask what is the purpose of life, why don't we ask the question, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, so open to you brothers inshallah. Right? Try to give a good answer, not just a one-word answer. Who is Allah? Yes, bismillah.
Surah Ikhlas, Ayat Kursi, and the last three ayahs of Surah Hashr.
Good. Explain.
And Ayat Nur.
Good. Explain, inshallah. What did these reverses? Yeah.
They explain who Allah is.
Good. So who is Allah?
Allah is one.
Allah is one. Good. What else is Allah?
He doesn't sleep.
Allah does not sleep. Correct. Yeah.
No,
Sahih. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Inshallah. Yeah. Someone else, inshallah. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
He's the light of the heaven and the earth.
Good. He's the master. He's the creator. Right. We know this, inshallah. Yeah. But in actual fact, how does that affect our lives? Right. So us knowing about Allah, how does that affect our lives? Yeah. Open to anyone, inshallah. Bismillah. Yep.
So Allah is our Rabb.
Good.
So He's our Lord. He's the one who rectifies our matters. He's the one who nurtures us from creation to the end.
Excellent.
He's the one worthy of worship. And,
Excellent.
yeah.
Jazakallah khair. No, excellent. Jazakallah khair. So two key words there, right? Rabb and worship. Right, two words which Allah uses often in the Quran. Right, Rabb, which you can take the opposite of Rabb, meaning Abd. Right, and Allah uses these words quite often. Right, Abd. Anyone know what Abd means? Slave. Right? And the opposite of that is Rabb, which is Lord. Right? So two opposites of one another. Right? So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala usually describes himself, and he describes us as Abd. Right? Slave is actually a very important word to understand. Right? Allah mentions in the Quran, the brother mentioned it after Salah, Jazakumullah khairan. He mentions, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah has not created jinn or mankind except to worship Allah, except to worship Allah. Right? This is the reason why Allah. Notice Allah here used the word abd. Right? We usually translate that to mean worship. We usually understand that to mean worship. But actually, it's the other relationship of abd. As you guys pointed out, slave. What's the difference between someone who worships and someone who's a slave? Anyone? It's not a trick question. Yeah. What's the difference between someone who worships and someone who's a slave?
Choice and no choice.
Excellent. Right? Someone who worships, they're going to pick a certain time and pray. They're going to pick a certain time and worship Allah. That's what we do. In our lives, unfortunately, most of us, we sort of pick during the days that we're going to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We allocate during the days that we're going to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allocated to us. Like Allah gave us the 5 daily salawat. So during our days. Everything else in our life, we put around it. Right? So we take our kids to school, for example. Or we go to school, for example. And then in the in-betweens, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what usually happens. Right? That's what usually happens in our lives. As for a slave, he has no choice. He has to worship Allah. As for a slave, he has no choice. He has a master and he's doing whatever he is. When he's asleep, he's still a slave. When he's eating, he's still a slave. When he's reading, he's still a slave. He's always a slave, right? Unfortunately, nowadays, slave has a very bad connotation to it. But I want to bring back the idea of what actually means we're a slave, we're an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're actually slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To understand that every single living moment of our lives is for Allah. In another ayat, Allah mentions, قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِ وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Someone give me a translation of this? I can hear some brothers reading it already.
Say my prayer.
Yeah, say my قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ, say my prayer, my قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِ, myself, my fasting, my prayer, everything is for the Lord, al-alamin. Everything that we do is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, from the moment we live our lives to the moment we die, it is all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single moment. That's our relationship with Allah. Right, that's one thing to understand. That's our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's very important to understand in the context of what is the purpose of life. Right, very, very key to understand this. So, in essence, the purpose of our lives is to do everything Allah has commanded us to do. Everything else is secondary. And most of the time, when you look at people in their lives, you look at what do they prioritize in life. So I'll ask you now, what are the priorities of every single general person? Give me some priorities that people have. Livelihood. Right? Some people, they want to buy a house. Right? They want to have a car. They want to get married. Right? What other priorities do people have? Career. They want to go up in the world. They want to stay the same person. Right? It's unacceptable for a person, he's been somewhere, he's been doing something, and he doesn't progress. Right? Progression is one of the things that, as a man or as a person, you want. You want to progress in life. Right? What other things that other people prioritize? Sorry? You mean money, yeah? Say pound. Power. Okay, mashallah. Yeah, power, status, dignity, honor. All of these things are what people desire. People don't want to be stepped on. People want to be known. People want to have some sort of credibility in the world. And that's what they work for. Anything else? Family. People prioritize their family, right? Now, most of the time, these priorities that take place, sometimes, in some contexts, they supersede what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to do. And that's the sort of lifestyle that you'll find many of the Muslims, they live in. Have you ever seen the caption? I actually saw one from Bob Marshall's WhatsApp. I'm on your WhatsApp, bro. Yeah. Something called the rat race. Anyone seen this before? You've ever seen the Bob Marshall's post? Yeah. Can someone describe to me what's the rat race? Chasing dunya, yeah? It was a caption of a bunch of rats. They're all wearing suits and they're jumping on, it looks like the central line. I hate the central line, so I recognize it. Apologies if any brothers drive the central line. I know we've got some TFL guys here, right? So they're jumping on this train and they're all stuffed in, right? And there's a caption at the bottom that says, go to school, go to college, get a job, work, retire, get a pension, end. That's their goal. That's their absolute goal. As a Muslim, this is not our goal. This is not our purpose. Everything that we just described, the priorities, they are secondary, they're parts of the goal. But they're not the absolute goal that Allah wants from us. What Allah truly wants from us is to be an abd, is to be His servant and worship Him in its totality. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kaffa. Enter into Islam, or you who believe, enter into Islam fully, wholeheartedly, completely. When you're a Muslim, when you're an abd of Allah, when you're a servant of Allah, you're a Muslim all the time. You're not a part-time Muslim. You're always worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, constantly. Every single step you're taking is for Allah. Every single action you're taking is for Allah. Now, if we bring it back, inshallah, I'm not saying any of these things are not virtuous. For example, having a career is excellent. These are not bad things. These are part of the goal. The reason why you have these goals is so that you can, again, go back to worshiping Allah. Having a family, prioritizing your family is not a bad thing. It's excellent. It's actually part of Islam, as we should, inshallah, as we should care for our families. Do as much as we can for them. But the problem is that it is for Allah. It's a goal of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having a career, having a goal, having an objective, inshallah, making money, these are all khair, inshallah, as long as it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? But as a Muslim is the ultimate thing that you want to achieve, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly. and to do as much as you can. Right? Let's take another example, inshallah. Okay. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in this famous hadith, the hadith of Jibreel, he describes 3 stages of a Muslim. Can brothers tell me what are the 3 stages that a Muslim will go through? Brother, familiar with this hadith? Hadith of Jibreel? A very famous hadith. Right? It's when Jibreel alayhi salam, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he sat right next to him, put his knees against his knees, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then told him and asked him a few questions. What were these questions? Anyone know? I'm sure you know, just being shy. Yes, at the back. Yeah, nope. Yeah, sorry, not that it's not the right answer, as in that was quite bad of me saying nope like that. Apologies. You're right, but you're referring to something else. It was 3 stages of a Muslim. I think Brother Akhtar, you had your hand up. Good. Good. Yeah, you left the first one out, but it's fine, mashallah, you're already there. Yeah, you're already there, mashallah. Yeah. There's 3 stages that a Muslim will go through, right? And these were described in this hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked by Jibreel. They didn't know that it was Jibreel alayhi salam. They found out afterwards, right? And when he came to Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he asked him, "Akhbirni anil Islam." Tell me about Islam. What is Islam? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? He explained the 5 pillars of Islam. Yeah, and tashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah wa iqam as-salah wa ati zakati wa sawm Ramadan wa hajj. Right? So these were he explained the 5 pillars. Meaning, if you want to fall into the category of a Muslim, you have to do the 5 commandments Allah has placed on you. If you do those things, you're considered a Muslim. Make sense? It's the first stage. Second stage, akhbirni an al-iman. What is iman? The Prophet was asked, what's the answer to this? What is iman? Usually you learn it at madrasa. Not shahada. Shahada was part of the Islam, right? What is iman? The 6 pillars of iman. Brothers know this? I'm sure you do. Yep. It'll be good too, but if I mean, Akhtar didn't do it, but Akhtar didn't do it in order, so it's up to you, bro. That's fine. Excellent. Yep. Good. Yep, the good and the bad, yeah. I.e. destiny, but yeah. One more. You're studying it every Sundays. Excellent. The belief in Yawm al-Qiyamah. But these are the 6 beliefs. If you have these, and you believe in them, and you follow them properly, you fall under the category of a mu'min, a believer. Right? So you have Muslim, and they observe the 5 daily salawat. Then you have a mu'min, who do more than that. They go extra and beyond that. And they believe in everything else which Allah has commanded. And usually that equates to more ibadat. So not only do they pray and they fast, they do more to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? These are the levels. Right? Can anyone describe what is the difference between a Muslim and a mu'min? What are some of the clear differences that you brothers are aware of? What's the difference between a Muslim? I promise, I know I'm asking so many questions. I will stop, okay? But what's the difference between a Muslim and a mu'min? Anyone know? Right, so we said that a Muslim is someone who Islam, and a mu'min is Iman. Right, so what's the clear difference? Yes, sorry, brother.
One is action.
Yeah, it could be. So one has more meaning behind it. For example, a person could pray, right? He could pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a person of Iman, he takes it beyond that. He wants to pray. He's eager to pray. He's eager to please Allah. Not only does he pray, he prays the sunnah, the extra ibadat. He prays tahajjud. He does things extra to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't do the bare minimum, right? He does everything he can to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He goes outside of just the bare minimum. Right? You know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a Bedouin came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, Ya Rasulullah, tell me, what do I have to do to enter paradise? Right? In the end, by the way, the discussion we're having is the goal is paradise. The goal is to enter paradise, have all of our sins forgiven, and be removed from the hellfire. That is the ultimate goal. This Bedouin, he asked Rasulullah, how do I enter paradise? Tell me. And all he told him was the 5 pillars of Islam. Some of the ulama say that he wasn't even told about Hajj because it wasn't compulsory upon him. And some ulama say that even Ramadan was some aspects of Islam were not revealed yet. So he was given less than usual. And the Prophet, he left telling him this, and he said, if he's sincere, dakhala al-jannah, he will enter paradise. Right? So we just told these things. As for everyone else, it's not enough to do this. It's not enough just to do the 5 daily salawat. It's not enough to just do basic ibadah. You have to do more. Right? This is why Allah commands us to do more. What's the consequence? Where if a Muslim dies upon his actions, so he does all those actions, where will he end up? He dies now, where will he go? He's Muslim, prays 5 times a day, does his stuff. Where will he go? He'll go Jannah, inshallah. But there's a consequence. Sorry? There's a consequence. Excellent. One of the consequences is he might go Jahannam. Even though he believes in Allah, even though he worships Allah, even though he prays, even though he fasts, but he might go Jahannam. Why? Because there's deficiencies or lackings in that ibadah. Does that make sense? Maybe he didn't pray 5 times a day. He missed some salawat. Maybe he was praying, but he didn't get the full reward of the salah. There was deficiencies. His wudu was not proper. Right? Do you think that when you pray today, every single person in the room gets the same exact reward? No. It doesn't work like that. Right? Everyone's ibadah is different. Allah accounts it differently. Some people, when they pray salah, they fear Allah more. Some people who are at the front of the salah, they'll get more reward, possibly, than those who are at the back. Some people who are more sincere and they're fighting shaitan in the salah from the waswas and the doubts and the whispers, they'll get more reward. Some people, they could enter salah and they've done all the actions of salah, they'll get no rewards. It all depends on the intention. So a Muslim, he could possibly go Jahannam, and then eventually he'll go Jannah. Does that make sense? Why is this? The first 3 people to enter the hellfire, who are they? What do they all have in common? They all show off. What do they also have in common? They're Muslims. Every single one of them are Muslims. Meaning, just being a Muslim, just doing the 5 daily ibadat doesn't guarantee you paradise. Make sense? Let's move on to the next level. Mu'min. A mu'min, he does more. He does his ultimate best to please Allah as much as he can. Not only is he doing the ibadat, but he's preserving Allah's deen in however way he can. His objective is to make Allah's deen al-a'la, supreme amongst all things. And he does more. If you look at the Sahaba, they were not famous because of their basic ibadat. They were famous, they were praised by the Prophet and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they did more. They were not average human beings. They did more. Let's take some examples. Someone give me a Sahaba, a unique attribute of a Sahaba. Right? Let's take some. Inshallah. I think we can just find out people's names and we'll probably find some Sahaba. Yeah? Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. Khalas? Who is Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah? This is Abu Ubaidah, صح? Okay. Khalas. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, inshallah, yeah? What was he famous for? Anyone know? Sorry? His zuhud, he would sacrifice everything. He wasn't really involved in the dunya so much. So he led armies. Right? He had a particular inkling to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by leading the Muslim armies. And it was something he was special at. It was something great at. Even those who were younger than him, who were older than him, he'll be chosen beyond them because his ability to do that. So he understood this as an attribute that Allah blessed him with. Okay, let's take another Sahaba. Someone else, inshallah. Abu Hurairah. Right, what is he famous for? Excellent. He was the narrator of the Prophet. Most of the ahadith, they were narrated by Abu Hurairah. Every single hadith that we have, usually you'll find Abu Hurairah was around in that vicinity. I'll give you an example as well. Right? How many hadith did Abu Bakr narrate? Imagine Abu Bakr was the companion, the closest companion of the Prophet. There was no one closer than him. Right? There was no one closer than him. In the time when the Prophet traveled to Abyssinia, or he traveled to migrate, right, from Mecca, away from Mecca, he did hijrah, he asked Abu Bakr to stay behind, Allahu an, to stay behind, because he loved him so much. How many hadith did he narrate? Some of the ulama, sorry? Yeah, some of the ulama say a handful of hadith. Very few hadith. Even though he was the companion. There was no one more who spent more time with the Prophet than him. Yet Abu Hurairah, he narrated the most amongst the majority of the Sahaba. Another one was Aisha radiallahu anha. She obviously narrated a lot because she was the wife of the Prophet, but he narrated a lot. He had that special ability to do this. Are any of these narrations part of the 5 pillars of Islam? No. It's extra. It's doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with and gave him. Someone give me a different Sahaba. Sorry? Oh yeah, Umayr ibn Abu Waqqas. Okay, the brother is it, or the younger brother of Sa'ad ibn Abu Waqqas. Yeah, he became shaheed in Badr. And again, someone who's fierce, someone who's younger, and he sacrificed his life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? As we see the brothers in Palestine, they're sacrificing their lives. Right? They don't have much options than to do this. And even though they might not have much ibadat, right? But they're doing their best to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We'll take one more example, inshallah. Brothers are familiar with Mus'ab ibn Umair. Right? What is he famous for? Mus'ab ibn Umair.
He went to Medina first and then he converted a lot of the Muslims.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a lot of da'wah. Right? He did a lot of da'wah, right? Huge amount of da'wah. Before that, he sacrificed a lot. Huge amount. Right? He was known as the most popular person in that time. Right? He would have a different clothes every single day, different trainers every single day. He would import them from Yemen, right? Designer clothing. He sacrificed all of that for Islam. Everything. His own mother, right? He had to run away from his own mother, right? In the hope of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? When his brother was captured in one of the battles, he would say to his brothers, his Muslim brothers, go and ransom him. His mother is going to pay dear for him. This is how he was. Again, none of these are connected with the 5 pillars of ibadat. Rather, they are more going beyond that. My personal belief is that every single person in this room, Allah has blessed you with something. Guaranteed. Allah has blessed you with an ability, with a ni'am that uniquely Allah has given you. What your job is to find that and make the most of that. Use it, expand it, maximize it until that's one thing that can take you to paradise. That's your goal. I truly believe every single person. If you haven't found it yet, go and find it. Go and speak to people. Ask people to observe your character. Find it. The Sahaba, they were unique in their way, but also it's a good example for us to look at. They were special. And it's not because of their simple ibadah that they did, rather it was their extraordinary ibadah that they did for Allah. Right? Brothers know about Bilal. What was he famous for? He was famous for the adhan. He was famous for giving the adhan. Right? He had a loud voice and he gave the adhan. In actual fact, one of the reasons why he entered paradise, as mentioned a hadith, was because of what? Was it because of the adhan? Possibly, but actually it was something else. He performed Tahiyyat al-Masjid with one of them. Also, he performed wudu. He did Salat al-Wudu, which is every single time he would make wudu, he would perform 2 rak'ah of salah. This was his sunnah. And the Prophet one day he saw him and he said, Ya Bilal, I heard your footsteps in paradise. So the Sahaba, they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, or they asked, how could you hear his footsteps in paradise? What was this? So they went to Bilal and they asked him, Oh Bilal, what's something special you do to enter paradise? That they can't observe anything special. And it was this special ibadah that he did. Right? Every single time he'll make wudu, he'll perform 2 rak'ah of salah. Again, wudu has so much barakah behind it. One other sunnah he used to do was, he never used to dry himself so much after making wudu. As the hadith goes, every single water that falls on the floor, you lose a sin. Right? This is the barakah of making wudu. Right? Every single water droplet that falls on the floor, you lose a sin. This is the ni'am, this is the barakah of wudu. Again, the Sahaba, they did things extraordinary, extra special, that no one else knew about, but it made them unique, it made them special. I believe the brothers in this room, inshallah, everyone Allah has blessed. Allah has given you something unique. Your duty is to find that, maximize it, and make that your purpose. Make that a goal of entering paradise. Now, very quickly, we'll go through some other verses in the Quran. Allah mentions in the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ وَإِنَّمَا تُوَفَّوْنَا أُجُورَكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Allah says in the Quran, every soul shall taste death. Okay, every soul shall taste death. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة. And one day Allah will resurrect us on paradise. Like He will gather us and He will bring us to paradise. Our duty is فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ. Our duty is to remove ourselves from the hellfire. Do whatever we can to take us away from the hellfire. That's our duty. That's our purpose. One of the most clearest purposes of our lives. To stay away from sins, to do whatever we can to remove yourselves from the hellfire. وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ. And to enter ourselves into paradise. To do whatever we can, to do our best to enter paradise. This is our duty, our goal. Okay? وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Know that this life is only but a play and enjoyment. Sometimes it's so easy for us to forget how this life is so much of a deception. It doesn't last that long. It's going to one day fall apart. It's going to one day be corrupted. And it's only limited. It's only a limited amount of time that we stay here. As the brother mentioned after Salah, you're not going to stay here very long. Our duty is to understand that our lives are more than just this dunya. Our lives, in actual fact, is everlasting. Have you brothers heard this statement before? People, they used to get tattoos and they used to put it on everywhere. They used to say something called YOLO. Have you heard it before? What does it mean? You only live once. Incorrect. My view is you only die once. Once you die, you'll never ever die ever again. You're going to either live forever in paradise or you're going to live forever in Jahannam, in the hellfire. This is it. Once you die, you'll never ever die ever again. This is Allah's promise. That's why in our lives, understand that don't limit it to this dunya. You don't live 40, 60, 70 years. You live forever. So your actions have to be directed to that. Our goal is more than just this dunya. It's to do much more than this. Find out very quickly. We'll come back now, inshallah, to the stages of the Muslim. What's the last stage? So we had Iman, so Islam, Iman, and the last one is Ihsan. Ihsan is the last stage that the Prophet he went through. This is the journey of the Muslim. Right? This is our goal. Our goal is to get to a level, as the hadith mentioned, that you worship Allah as though you see Him. And even though you won't be able to see Allah, you know that Allah is always watching. This is the level that you want to be at. This is the goal of every single Muslim. That every single thing that you're doing is to worship Allah, nothing else. Every single thing that you're doing is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that every single action you are doing becomes ibadah. Shaykh ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned that anything can become ibadah, as long as it's done with the correct intention. So us just sitting here, we're not praying, we're not fasting, unless some of us are. We're not reading Quran. It's an ibadah, because we're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though we can't see it, hadith of Prophet mentions that there are some angels, they look for gatherings like this. And they hunt and they look. And the goal of finding these gatherings is so that they hope that they can find these gatherings and then go and speak to Allah. That's their goal. They just want to converse with Allah. Just go up to the Jannah and speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do? They find these gatherings and they go to Allah and they say, Ya Allah, there are some people who are speaking about you, who are talking about you. What should we do with them? So then the angels, they are commanded by Allah, forgive all of their sins. So you can't see it right now. There are angels here and they're wrapping their wings around us, enclosing their wings around us, and they're surrounding us. Right? This is the ni'am that sometimes we forget. Again, our lives are not limited to this dunya. There is an unseen dunya we can't see. Part of that is the angels. They gather. Then there's some angels who they were late to the party. They didn't see this gathering taking place. They were running a bit behind. So what they do is they find another reason to speak to Allah. So they say, what about someone who came late? Let me go inquire about him. So then that person goes to Allah and asks about Allah, what shall I do with this person? They've come late, what shall I do? Allah says, forgive them as well. Now this is the ni'am, this is the barakah of what we're doing here. Sometimes when you do a good deed, there's no one there to praise you. There's no one there to say to you, well done, excellent job. When you pray, after salah, no one's clapping their hands and saying, guys, 10 points there. There's nothing like that. When you read Quran, when you wake up in the morning for Fajr, no one's there to tally up your points, to say this month, you clocked the game. Nothing like that happens. It's all lies in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same way, when you disobey Allah, no one's there to actually add a consequence to them. No one's there to admonish you. No one's there to punish you. How many times do we disobey Allah? Do we not worship Allah? Yeah, Allah leaves us. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Then eventually, when it's Ramadan, when someone passes away, we return back to Allah and we ask Allah we apologize to Allah. This is usually the life cycle that many Muslims, they fall under. They worship Allah, they stop worshipping Allah, they remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's usually the life cycle that we follow. Rahmukallah. Right? So how do we change this? This is our duty. Our duty is to change this as much as possible. To understand that Allah is watching us at all times. Every action we do has a consequence. Every single action. For example, our brothers and sisters in Palestine, the issues and the problems that they're facing, the genocide that they're going under, don't think that there is no consequence for the actions of the disbelievers. The tyrants, the dictators, the evil people that are out there causing them destruction, don't think that Allah will not recompense them, Allah will not punish them. Allah will punish them severely and swiftly, as Allah has promised. This is a duty upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will promise this. But like Allah, when we commit a sin, when we do something wrong, Allah doesn't punish us immediately. Allah gives us opportunities. Similarly, Allah will punish them accordingly. Allah will deal with them accordingly. This life, you can only punish a person so much. Once they die, it's over. The hereafter, you can punish them endlessly. As you know, brothers have probably gone through, in Jahannam, when a person is punished, when a person is cut, when a person is bruised, when a person their limbs are torn from them, Allah repairs their body so that they can be harmed more. A person of Jahannam, his body is increased in size. Why is it increased in size? More surface area to punish them. This is the way Allah thinks. This is the way Allah does things. So don't think that these people, they won't be punished by Allah. This is something that Allah is part of what Allah does. Our duty is to remember Allah is watching us. There's a consequence for every single action that we're doing. Okay, if we bring it back now, inshallah, what is the purpose of life? Right, we went through it very quickly, inshallah. We just summarize. What is the purpose of life? Our purpose is to worship Allah, as we all are aware of. Our purpose is to do more than that. Not just worship Allah, to do more than what that entails. As we discussed at the beginning, it is to become an abd of Allah, an actual servant of Allah. A servant, he's not part-time. He constantly worships Allah all the time. He's worshipping Allah all the time. When he's sleeping, he's still worshipping Allah. When he's fasting, he's still worshipping Allah. When he's going to work, he's still worshipping Allah. Constantly worshipping Allah. This is what Allah wants from us. Secondly, it is to do more ibadah, to find that ibadah that Allah has blessed you with, Allah has rewarded you with, and to make the most of it. To use that to improve, to benefit the ummah. This is your duty. Without this, there's something missing in your deen. All the Sahaba, they were commanded to do the same thing, to worship Allah, to fast, to pray, to fight in jihad, to do other things as well. But they all found extraordinary, special things to accept them into paradise. Like the brother mentioned it before, paradise has many levels. Right? Anyone know how many levels there are in paradise?
More than
Yeah. Not 7 heavens, there's 7 sama'a, 7 skies. But if you imagine the earth, above that you have a sky. Above that you have 7 different skies. Right? Sab'a samawatin tibaqa. There's 7 different skies. The top of the sky is where Jannah begins. Above Jannah, there are many, many levels. The ulama, they debate exactly how many levels there are. Some say there's a level for every name of Allah. How many levels are there? Trick question. Not 100. Allah has more than 99 names. We only know of 99. Understand? We only know that Allah has 99 names. These are the only names that He's taught us. Actually, Allah has more than 99. We know this because the Day of Judgment will not start until Allah teaches the Prophet ﷺ a new name of Allah that we don't know of. And then Allah will start the Day of Judgment. So this is one example. We actually don't know. In Jannah, Allah has more names. We're just not aware of it. So some say there's a name for every level of Allah, every name of Allah. Some of the other ulama, they say there's a level for every verse in the Quran. Anyone know how many verses are there in the Quran? Okay, something 666, yeah? Was it? 6,666. Sounds like some Illuminati something. Okay, khair, yeah. Something like this. Around 6,000 verses. So there possibly could be 6,000 levels. Allahu A'lam. So Jannah has many levels. Depending on your good deeds that you do in this dunya, Allah will permit you into the levels of paradise. I've said this before. When a person goes, if a Muslim dies, he will enter paradise. Condition though. He could enter paradise directly, or he will have to pay for whatever lackings he's had, whatever deficiency he has to pay for some of that. So he might go Jahannam and then enter paradise. That's one level. Second, a mu'min. A mu'min, the only thing he has to worry about is he will go paradise. He is guaranteed paradise. As long as he dies upon that, inshallah, he's guaranteed paradise. The only thing he has to worry about is how high in paradise he will be. That's his only worry. That's his only worry. So some of the ulama, they say, the person who says, La ilallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. It's part of the evening adhkar, morning and evening adhkar. The person in paradise who's above them in level, they will ask a person just above them, how did you get there? How are you above me and I am here? How did you get there? And he will say, I said this dua, La ilallah wahdahu la sharika lah, mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, one more time than you said. This is the difference in levels. The difference in levels. Okay? So this is one example of how a person can increase. So the mu'min, that's what he wants. As for the muhsin, person of ihsan, his only worry is, am I going to be with the highest level of paradise? That's his only level. What's the difference in being in these levels? A Muslim will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every Jum'ah. He'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The goal of Jannah is not actually the luxuries, the women of Jannah, the mansions in Jannah. Actually, the goal of Jannah is to see Allah. This is the greatest reward a person can get. What's the greatest reward? To see the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the greatest punishment in Jahannam? Anyone know? To never to see the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the greatest punishment of Jahannam. Allah does not punish you in Jahannam, but there are angels that punish you. How many angels are there in Jahannam? Allah mentions it in the Quran. There are 19 angels that guard Jahannam. And one of them is called Malik. He will be guarding Jahannam. And they're black in color, so they have no emotions. So when they punish you, you can't see their emotions. These are the angels that guard Jahannam, as mentioned in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will leave them and they'll punish you. Allah will not even go near Jahannam. You will never see Allah. This is the punishment of the hellfire. Our goal, our purpose is to go paradise, to stay there, to live there, to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mu'min and the muhsin, they will see Allah more often. How often? Every morning and every evening. This is the reward that is given to them. They will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the face of Allah, every morning and every evening. It's one of the reasons why we do the morning and evening adhkar. Is to remind us of this. Our goal is to see the face of Allah. Our goal is for Allah to remove our sins. Our goal is to enter paradise without any adhab, without Allah punishing us and causing us to go to the hellfire. These are some of the goals. But finally, and I'll end with this inshallah, is to keep in mind that Islam is comprehensive. It's not just simple ibadah that you do. So it's not just praying, it's not just fasting, it's not just going Hajj. This is not Islam. Islam is not a tick box of, I need to do this, this, and this to enter paradise. Islam is comprehensive. It requires a lot of effort. It's not simple to enter paradise. The Prophet ﷺ, he was outside of paradise, and the angels, they showed him the outside of paradise. And he found it full of deception and corruption. It was full of fitna, full of issues and problems. And then he asked the angels, if a person sees all of this, how will they enter paradise? These are all designed to distract us from paradise. So our duty is to do more, to do as much as we can. Use whatever abilities Allah has given you to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Don't limit Islam to just fasting, to just praying. Do more. Do much more, inshallah. There are brothers in Palestine, as I mentioned, and other places as well, who are going through a lot of issues. Like today, I've just come back from, we're building a masjid for the brothers in the Uyghur movement. Brothers know Uyghurs? Yeah, they're from East Turkestan, right? And they've been outcasted from China and basically gone through a huge genocide themselves. And a lot of them have migrated to London. And I used to go university with some of these brothers, and they basically migrated. And their goal is to gain as much knowledge as they can and then go back there. And that's what they're going through right now. And they're doing their best to set up. So they set up this masjid now, and it's just a basic area, and they're trying to just build themselves. Every time I speak to them, their goal is very clear. Their goal is not to settle in this country. Their goal is to build as much capacity as they can and go back and defend the Muslim lands. That's their entire goal. Their goal is to go back and defend the Muslim lands and bring back the area that they lost. That's their goal. So each of them are gaining different experiences. Some of them becoming engineers, some of them becoming doctors, some of them becoming alims, some of them are becoming whatever blessing Allah has given them. They're doing their best to hone those skills and then go back and support the Muslims. Some of them are training, just becoming stronger. So if the need arises, they can do that. These are some of the things, inshallah, to be aware of. In essence, what is the purpose of life? It is all of those things, right? It is to worship Allah in completely, totally, without any exceptions. It's to remember Allah is watching us. It's to do everything we can for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's to be comprehensive in everything that we're doing, not limit Islam to certain ibadah. This is essentially the goal and the purpose. There's many other verses, but these basically, in essence, summarize. Finally, I'll end with this final verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, in the verse I mentioned before, "Udkhulu fi silmi kafa," and then he mentions, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Don't follow his footsteps. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He is a clear and open enemy to you. Our job is don't get distracted by the worldly life. This house, mashallah, is amazing. It's very nice. I've only been here for a little while. But it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to lock yourself up and just think about this is life. Wow. Actually, you don't need any of this. Again, I'll use the brothers in Palestine as an example. You see them sometimes, they don't have much. Yeah? I saw a video yesterday of just a group of children just playing football. They didn't even have a ball. So what they did was they got a pile of rubbish, they grinded it up with fire until it became a bit solid. And they're playing football like this. They don't have a ball. But in the midst of everything, there's fires on one side, there's blown up buildings, but they're just enjoying themselves. And they know that the luxuries of this world are nothing. They're just enjoying themselves. Some of them are reciting Quran, some of them are doing whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to do. Anyway, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who fear Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, allows us to be among those who please Him every single day. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single day of our lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to enter paradise and to save us from the punishment of the hellfire. وبارك الله فيكم سبحانك الله بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونتوب إليك.
Do you brothers have any questions for us? Yes, dear. Any questions related to the topic or even unrelated to the topic? If you want to ask them something that you might feel like you need some answers to, you know, regards to something that you might be going through.
Yeah,
You mentioned regarding the 19 inches of the hellfire. What was the reference for that? Which ayah is it?
what's the verse? Surah. No, I think it's Muddathir. I'll find it for you and I'll send it to you, inshallah. I forgot the verse now. I know the verse, I just don't know the surah.
Someone finds him.
Yeah, Tis'ata Ashara.
There's a spot where it says Tis'ata Ashara.
Anyone know? It's from Muddathir, صح? Okay, inshallah. It's from Muddathir. Allah mentions that there are 19. He describes them as protectors. Obviously, we know that these are angels. These are the 19 angels that guard Jahannam. Yeah, Surah Muddathir, right?
Yeah, over
Inshallah.
19 each.
Any other questions, guys? Don't be shy. That's something. Any sort of. Check. Oh yeah. So once we have with us, ask something about maybe Jama'ah. If there's any sort of confusion or any questions you have with regards to Jama'ah work as well.
Does everyone know what Ikhwa is again? And the different bodies of Ikhwa?